Everyone, welcome to the Process 34 podcast. My name is Cody Dugan, and I am the creator of Process 34, as well as the host for this show. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the podcast, and if you have not yet done so, please, I encourage you to do so now. By you subscribing and liking my content, I am able to grow my audience and have the ability to reach more people, and ultimately help more people. For those of you that are new to the show, first off, welcome and thank you for watching or listening. Process 34 was created in the midst of grief after losing my son. Growing tired of so many negative thoughts and emotions, I decided to challenge myself to find the positive in it. And from that moment on, try to find it in any situation. That led to pursuing a healthier lifestyle of feeding my mind, body, and spirit every single day, no matter what. And from that, a podcast was born, and that's where we are now. This is a show where I share with you my personal stories and experiences, and how I was able to get through those events, and what I did then, and what I'm still doing now. Through using a positive outlook or routine and a daily inventory, I feel like you can have a pretty well-balanced and manageable life. On the show, I'll also have guests from all walks of life. People that are doing good things, positive things, and ultimately just on the same wavelength as Process 34. Professionals and businesses that offer their expertise, services, and even their own personal experiences and stories. We are a community, and we are interested in self-help along with helping others. So I hope you enjoy, and again, thank you for watching and listening. And as always, please hit that like button, subscribe, and share with your friends. Enjoy the show. Thank you. Hey everybody, welcome to the Process 34 podcast. Today we have a very special guest with us, longtime friend, pretty much almost a family member, some would say. Him and Rashon and his brother Jaman have been very close to me and have been very influential in my life and in Process 34. So without further ado, the owner of Micopeia, Rashon Massey. What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Come on, man. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. It's been a long time coming.
Yes. It really has been. And, I am just, first off, I want to start off giving you your flowers, man.
Thank you.
This journey and bringing this podcast to life, man, and sharing this light with the world.
Thank you.
And watching you on this journey.
Yeah.
It's been incredible. I don't know if people know, but, definitely since the time that he had the idea, Cody reached out and said, "You know what, Rob? What do you think about this idea? Do you think folks would be into it?" I was like,
Yeah.
"Man, are you kidding me? This is beautiful."
Absolutely.
Author, podcast,
right.
Incredible, man.
So real quick, just like a little bit of background on that, I don't even think I had developed a journal yet. I was just in the whole process of everything, trying to basically just figure out life. And, who do you call in those instances? Well, you call Rashon base. That's what we do, right?
Sure.
He's just always just, not only do you have great advice, but you're just a great listener. So, right off the get-go, we started talking, and I think you cut me off like halfway through, and you're like, "Listen, like everything you're telling me, like this is what you need to do next. Like just present it to the world now." And I already kind of knew that, but with fear and basically just keeping it to myself, nothing happened. So then I finally exposed it to you, and then basically you started this whole entire journey. So I appreciate that, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And like I said, it's been a long time coming. You were number one that I wanted on the show first and foremost. And, obviously with schedules and everything, it hasn't worked out. And thankfully we got you here now. And I want to not only talk about you as a person, but you've developed an amazing brand Micopeia. Can you
Thank
tell
you.
us a little bit about what it is and why you started it?
Yes, yes, yes. So, Mycopia is near and dear to my heart. It's a company that I started shortly after doing some amazing studying in Hawaii, on the big island of Hawaii. I received an
Nice.
opportunity to run an apothecary there, like a herbal shop
Okay.
that was headed up by one of my friends from college. And she opened up the shop with the local medicine man of the town. His name was late great Kim Ki'i Nakamura,
Okay.
and they were actually getting ready to head to Thailand because he wanted to introduce her to some of his friends and family over there, and also folks that would also be able to carry on the legacy of herbalism through her. So some contacts over there to get herbs and things like that. They needed someone to run the shop.
Right.
So so she's like, "Hey, man, this is a great opportunity for you to get out of Michigan for a second if you want to take it, and then come over here and run the shop." I was like, "Come on, sis, I got you."
Right. Absolutely.
Uh, and you know this, but at the time I was also working uh, with an artist. His name is Big Sean, and I was a board member at
Hmm.
his nonprofit, the Sean Anderson Foundation. So I had just finished raising money for the Flint water crisis through the
Nice.
foundation, and it was just a perfect way to kind of reset. And I had no idea it would be so life transforming for me,
Right.
and that's primarily because all my life I had chronic pain and didn't know about it. And I just knew that I had aches in my body. I didn't know that this was a condition, and not until my adult years of really saying, okay, well, I want to get my health in check. You know what I'm saying? You've known me since I was like at my heaviest of like 250 pounds in
Hmm.
high school.
Hmm.
So you know what I mean? In the 20s, I was like, all right, I'm gonna,
Yeah.
I want to do better for myself, and through that journey, it opened me up to learning so much about my body, different systems of medicine, but no relief for the chronic pain. And
Right.
then once I got to Hawaii, I was able to learn a great deal through Kem Ki'i Nakamura Ki'i. And through him, I was able to learn about native Hawaiian medicine, Lapa'au. And then down the street from Ki'i was my second mentor in herbalism. And little did I know. And I would meet him as he came into the shop. His name was Bill Brevort. He's also passed away now. And Bill was actually the man who's largely responsible for expanding traditional Chinese medicine throughout the West.
Wow.
So a lot of what we know in herbalism and bulk herbs, and especially introducing a lot of the formulations that have been around for hundreds of years, and traditional Chinese medicine, he was responsible for really helping to expand it here through his work, working with the Venerable Honorable Swan Hua. Um, and he's the man who helped really expand Chan Buddhism throughout the Pacific Northwest. They created a place called the City of 10,000 Buddhas in Ukiah, California. It's
Okay.
an amazing place, and that's the home of now Dharma Realm University, and it's an actually accredited university.
Wow.
Um, that's focused on Buddhism.
Okay.
So it's absolutely wonderful the legacy that he left, and you
How
know.
did
Mhm.
I'm sorry, how did you meet him? Was it just like through your other mentor or how did it come about?
You know, uh, Ki'i and Biz, they were both in Thailand.
Okay.
And so I'm running the shop one day, and this guy, it's so funny because like Bill, I don't know how tall he really stood because by the time I met him in that chapter of his life, he would spend about 7 to 8 hours a day sitting in lotus.
Oh,
So,
wow.
if for those unfamiliar, it's that
Yeah.
that yoga pose, your legs are all tucked in and things like that. So it's like,
Hmm.
what man spending that many hours a day meditating in
Wow.
lotus, and something told him one day to just get up, throw something on, and it's so funny because uh he had this huge, it was a very Buddha belly,
Yeah.
but when he's like hunched over, and he's almost like a hunchback, and he comes in, and he comes looking around, and he sits down because there's like a nice seating area, and I was actually working with a young lady, and she was asking me all sorts of questions and things, and I was being very present with her, and
Hmm.
she left the shop, and he observed us for the time that I was with her, And the first thing he said to me, he was like, "Man, that's crazy." He's like, "She didn't want your help. She was just hitting on you." But I had no idea.
Right.
You know, I really and I really have no. I'm not really good with that. I
Hmm.
really am not. You have to be very direct with me.
Right.
So I was very present, you know, and I was just helping her. And, you know, however, I guess the conversation would pivot because she just wanted to hang out a little bit longer. I was like, yeah, however I can help you.
Right.
And I think that really impressed him, you know. He's like, I don't know who this guy is.
Yeah.
What's this about? I came here to talk to my buddy. He's not here. You're running the shop. I want to talk to you.
That's
So he invited
awesome.
me over. Come on, he invited me to his house for tea that evening. He's like, "What time are you closing up?" I was like, "You know, I'll close up right now."
Right. Right.
You know, I was
Exactly.
like, "Hang with you, man. I don't, you're
Right.
somebody," you know. And uh, I hopped in the car, drove down the coast
Hmm.
to his home, and man, let me tell you, I mean, it was like a dream home to me,
Yeah.
you know. And it was like literally on the edge, you know, of the island.
Nice.
And what's really amazing about his home and the big island, you can actually see the next island, the chain of islands. So there's the big island, the next one to it is Maui. Not, am I thinking Maui? Yeah.
I think it's Maui. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
And you can actually see it,
Okay.
you know, on like a clear day. However, the volcano on the big island is somewhat active, right? So there's fog. So that's like the fog of the volcano. And it like
Hmm.
clouds the island, right? So it's very interesting. You see it as you're flying in.
Yeah.
You're like, what is going on here? It's like going into Jurassic Park. You're just,
Right. Yeah.
what is this? You know, you're like, oh, that's like volcanic ash and like smoke and soot. But it's so beautiful because you could sit on, you know, his property and one day see this stunning island that was it seemed like it was so close you could touch it or swim to it. It was
Hmm.
really you can't like that. And then on the next day, you couldn't see it at all because the fog was so thick. But yet, to us, you know, especially coming from like Michigan, you would think that horizon's as far as it goes,
Yeah.
you know. But no, there's actually a massive island right there. And I like telling that story because my time with Bill kind of was that, you know, it was very ethereal, ephemeral. It was, you know, it was almost like it didn't happen,
Yeah.
you know, these hours of sitting, drinking tea, and in Hawaii they call it talking story.
Hmm.
Right? Just this right here, the same thing this podcast, you know.
Right.
And you're just talking story and you know, he's telling about his life and asking you know, and pouring from one cup to another. And that's how we spent our time together. And it was incredible because at that time in his life, you know, he had retired. Like I said, you know, he was really obsessed with dying.
Hmm.
Like the man was like obsessed with other other legendary Buddhists. You might hear my dog looking.
Oh, you're
Uh,
okay.
other legendary Buddhists um, who were literally transitioned out of this life while sitting in lotus and meditation, you know, and like their bodies are so well preserved that they sit in like these urns and they're like mummified in like intact condition, you know, they didn't,
Right.
you know, embalming and amazing story behind it. So, you know, he was just really trying to do that,
Hmm.
you know, and I was this refreshing jolt of light that he didn't see coming. But he did, you know, and now looking back at it, because there's so many things, that he told me, you know, he was like, "Oh, you'll become the mushroom man." I was like, "What do you mean?" You know, and
That's
he
wild.
was, you know, he was so aware of his
Yeah.
contributions to the world. He was so aware of his lasting impact, the business that he created, and then all the smaller businesses that came after. And the only reason why he shuttered his business is because of the advent of Amazon.
Mm.
And I thought it was really powerful because as him and I were talking, you know, he's like, "Oh," in his mind, you know, that was a chapter that had happened,
Hmm.
and yet he's meeting me, and I'm on the cusp, and I'm like, "Amazon." I was like, "What, bro? I know Amazon, and I know online marketing, and like,
Right.
what are you talking like, you know?" And it just gave him. It was just such a refreshing
It
thing.
reminds me of. Have you ever read Celestine Prophecy?
I haven't. No.
Okay, so like it's these one of my favorite books, but basically they're all on a quest to find this artifact that's basically like the principles to live by.
Okay.
And the main point of it is, like, so that interaction that you had, that person that you met that kind of came in, a lot of people might just kind of blow that situation off, not really embrace it the way you do, and just see where it goes. And that's kind of the whole concept of that. It was just I think at one part it was that one of the guys says, "Oh, that guy, I thought it was somebody else that I know. It looks just like him." And they said, "Well, go talk to him." Because they were just out in the middle of nowhere, and he thought it was somebody that he knew. Come to find out, it wasn't. After he realized it, but he still said, "Just go talk to him." He ends up going talk to him, and these people are on the same as that quest, and they have some clues that these people don't have. So you know what I mean? It was just kind of like, just for whatever reason, you thought that was that person, but it really wasn't. But something drew you to him. There was some sort of energy there. So go, figure it out, embrace it, see what happens. So, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm guilty of it myself, where I've encountered all sorts of experiences where I just blew them off. It was like, and looking back, it was like, like the whole concept of, be aware of opportunities, seize the moment, stuff like that. And me feeling lost all the time, and then it's like, well, maybe these are the signs that I need to actually start accepting and, being aware of. They're not going to be as blatant as I think they should be. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So kind of like the same story though. It's cool because that's usually the most powerful relationships I feel like are formed like that, just by chance,
Just by chance.
Yeah.
You don't really see them happening. I was just telling my friend Lori about you
Mhm.
and this journey. I was like, yeah, I'm getting ready to do this podcast. I'm really excited. Told pretty much a paragraph story of, our friendship.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. Did I ever think biology, my
Right.
biology class freshman year of high school, you know
Right.
what I mean, that I would have a lasting friendship with you? No. But life does do that. And it's
Hmm.
very, some of the relationships that you do think that you make that will last forever, you can look up in a couple years, and
Yeah.
they're very present for that season,
Yeah.
right? They're very present for that moment of growth. But then some of those chance encounters
Hmm.
were not chance at all, but they were so deliberately placed for your life,
Yeah.
Hearing you say that, uh, I really loved hearing that because I think about how that resonates in my own life, but really hearing you say that makes me smile because I feel a lot of Bill and Key E more or less feeling like I was that to them at
Yeah.
that stage in their life. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I
Yeah.
was definitely someone they didn't see coming, but yet
Hmm.
when they met, they understood like, oh, he's the person I'm supposed to be passing everything to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just really something because the relationships that I formed at that time on the island
Hmm.
with so many individuals who are just traveling, passing through, living on the island for a time, they're still very lasting,
Yeah.
And I look at the individuals that we've all become since that tutelage, if you
Hmm.
will. You know what I mean? Studying with Ki'i, studying under the Pele, the soul of the island. Um, you know, uh, yeah, so I appreciate you saying that and hearing that resonating and giving that back to me, man, because
Absolutely.
that really makes me smile. It
Yeah.
really.
100%. What so tell us about Mycopia. Like
Yeah.
what are you offering? What you kind of told us what started you down that journey, but what is it exactly, and how is it helping you and others?
Mycopia was after I got back from the island
Hmm.
to Michigan. I was like, okay, well, this chronic pain, I definitely have more specific questions to ask
Yeah.
because that's one thing you learn. And just working with doctors and Western medicine, as we
Hmm.
call it, it's the more specific you can be and the more informed you can be on your health
Yeah.
and asking the right questions really helps them out, right? It
Hmm.
empowers them then to maybe get the right testing for you. And they're always learning too.
Hmm.
So I think we always forget that. We think that, they have all the answers, but they don't.
Right.
So it allowed me to kind of come back and say, hey, I got some ideas here.
Right.
I came back and did some testing,
Hmm.
got some biopsies, done, and then I found out I have a rare condition called schwannomatosis,
Mm.
and that's when you grow tumors on the linings of your nerves. So that's where that chronic pain was coming from. That could be debilitating, and it's sort of like the elephant man's disease.
Yeah.
Yeah, a form of neurofibromatosis. From what I know, it could. I think they found out maybe it wasn't NF, but it's that same kind of idea
Hmm.
of like tumors that form the body. And fortunately, I was like, all right, well, cool. I was like, let me apply this knowledge
Yeah.
that mentors and everybody just passed down to me and see what I can do. Like
Right.
in 6 months, I shrunk my largest tumor from a golf ball down to a marble.
That's
You know,
wild.
come on, man. So, and I remember I made a deal with God. It was like it was a pact, man.
Hmm.
Like legit. When I was going through the biopsy, and I've had to do this a couple times in life. You know what I mean?
Right.
Make a deal with God. Like, come on, baby, give me some more time, baby.
Hmm.
I love living,
Yep.
and I love
Oh yeah.
exalting your glory.
Right.
So I legit, while the biopsy, I was like, look, if this turns out to be something that I can manage, and I have recently been given this wealth of knowledge, and I can really improve my quality of life, I will definitely dedicate my life to carrying this forward. Because it's not like after I left Hawaii,
Hmm.
I knew that I was going to start Mycopia. I want to be very clear about that. It wasn't like, oh, I'm supposed to carry this torch for. It didn't really click to me like that,
Right.
and I think that's important to say because no matter where you're at in life, and I think purpose and what your purpose is at that moment, it could always change and it could always alter.
Hmm.
So if you're open to that, if you're open to the seasonalities of your life, then you'll just kind of happen. I think
Yeah.
it's not a happenstance that I fell into it during the season of fall. I said, okay, I'm back from Hawaii during the season of fall. I'm going to get, and that it just almost fell into my lap.
Yeah.
And I said, all right, well, I got to carry this forward. So I spent the next couple of years blogging, just telling folks about my journey, and literally just opening up the blog to like,
Hmm.
hey, if you have questions, hit me up, we'll talk. And that just started fostering community. And folks were like, yeah, I got some questions, man. So I started
Right.
answering questions, and then they're like, yo, I need the product.
Yeah. Right.
Like, this information is cute, but you know what I mean?
Right.
Goods. So I was like, oh, yeah, okay, all right, So I started then formulating, products, and that was really special.
Yeah.
That was special to do specifically with Ki'i. And just, I would like call him up, send a text message, like, yo, what do you think about this? And he was just like, this, add this, or do that. That was just a really
Right.
amazing thing. And now even telling you the story, looking back, it's exactly what I was telling Bill. Like, that's the beauty, in my opinion, of what I saw happening with herbalism, community healing,
Hmm.
the power of technology, and just that bringing now cultures together to be able to talk.
Yeah.
So that's what Mycopia is. Mycopia is a reflection of our heritage, and that reflection through herbalism. So I handcraft products based on very ancient methods that have also now been backed by research. That's another thing that I like to bring into this new era of herbalism. Our brothers and sisters and cousins over that are certified medical professionals
Yeah.
researching. We leaning on them for support is huge because we can find out specifically why these herbs are going to be effective in our bodies, or why they could counter have maybe some and some complications with
Hmm.
medications that we're taking, things like that. So Mycopia is a place where I'm able to create tinctures, herbal teas to support individuals. My best-selling tea happens to be a tea that specifically helps out individuals with high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and concerns with overall memory support.
Okay.
And I think it's really cool because the herb in it that really anchors it is an herb called bitter melon. And that's like the first herb that my mentor Ki put me
That's
on to.
so cool.
And we like talk. Cody was like, man, we talked, and he's like, how can more people find out about this? He's
Yeah.
like, and this is a native Hawaiian,
Right.
we would talk real. He was like, he's like, man, black folks definitely should know. I
Yeah.
was like, I know.
Right.
So every time I'm able to talk to someone and
Yeah.
tell them about the tea, and then they give a testimonial back like, "Yo, I drank this tea, check my blood sugar or blood pressure level, and they actually drop. Like, what is this?" You know,
That's so cool.
it's huge. It's huge. Folks have been able to get off their medications or at least find balance. So that's what I offer through Mycopia, the products, and then on top of the products, education,
Mhm.
because got to know about what's happening, and a lot of us don't know about this. So
That's one of my favorite things following you on social media is like you see a lot of people selling products. You see a lot of people selling similar things. And you don't really see anybody taking the time to show you exactly what they're putting into it and what those specific ingredients are doing. And a lot of them are doing multiple wonderful things just with one, just one simple ingredient. So, kudos to you. I love that whole entire demonstration, like especially the whole mixing bowl and everything. It's just like on TikTok, like
yeah,
it's perfect. It's beautiful. I love it.
thank you very much. Shout out to another CA alum, and her name is Samantha Tate. She was in my graduating class, and
Okay.
definitely she was actually one of my first friends.
Yeah.
Came to Carmen in junior high, CA district, and she is incredibly gifted,
Okay.
and she has been carrying on the legacy of tarot for years,
Nice.
and she's actually the person who told me, you know what I mean? And it's very interesting, just timing of things. I mean, we're talking the same stretch of fall months
Hmm.
when you're reaching out and talking about, yo, I think I wanna start this process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Literally, and
Yeah.
then, you and I are talking, and then like she came in on like the back end,
Yeah.
and she's like, "No, something I did a reading or whatever, like something said start a TikTok, like you're supposed to be moving into the next phase, you're gonna find community, you're gonna find the folks,
Right.
it's gonna open up for you. You've put in the work now. So it was just very powerful. And I'm telling you, within like a month or so of like launching, and I remember when I posted a video, it was like just the first couple videos and just seeing
Mhm.
like views. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, okay, that this is amazing,
Yeah.
so I appreciate you saying that, just because I really do love doing the work that I do.
Hmm.
It is something I'm oftentimes by myself, very much focused under intention, under deep prayer. Sometimes I feel like guided by the ancestors. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? I'm very just kind of like moving
Yep.
things around, doing what I have to do to prepare what is going to be needed for the community. So
I love it.
thank you for saying that,
That's
you're
awesome.
appreciating the content and that, it's special. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. My wife does. She makes Cherokee wish anklets,
Hey,
and when she does them, she has a whole. It's very ceremonial. And she's very respectful to the Cherokee traditions and everything, and incorporates that. Like she's had a couple workshops, and I actually got to go to one this past New Year's Eve
okay.
and watch her do it from start to finish. And just how she does it, it's very ceremonial. It's very much like paying respect and homage, and also like here's a gift to you, and this is what it does, and this is the meaning behind it. But we have to I have to present it to you in this way, and then when she makes them at home to sell, she does the same exact thing. She's singing, she's burning sage with them. She's, what I mean. It's just it's really cool. So I've always, like I'm around that, so I experience that. So when I saw you do it on TikTok with the, with mixing the herbs and everything, and just, just how simple and elegant you present it, and it's just nice to see, but then like how it's done on TikTok, it's like it not only is it nice and informative, but it looks super cool too. So you know what I mean? It's a win-win. So great job.
I like you sharing that also about Candace
Yeah.
because specifically, um, I want to say this for anyone who happens upon this conversation,
Hmm.
like you can quantify love, you know, and like there is a reason why those cookies you make, even though it's your grandmother's recipe, they just don't taste like your grandmother's. You
Right.
can get it down, but they're going to taste like your cookies. They're going to
Hmm.
taste like a reflection of you, and that's because of the love, the energy, that's carried forth. When we take time to pray, when we
Mm-hmm.
take time to meditate, these very important grounding disciplines that your wife definitely helps so many really achieve in their life and finding centering for themselves. We really that's a universal church,
Mm-hmm.
and that's love, that's grace for yourself, and applying those ceremonies,
Yeah.
those rituals, those habits, to the work that we do, the work that we share, is really important. And I want to say that, like, I hope that people are able to take from this part of the conversation the work that you do when you're preparing a meal for your family,
Mm-hmm.
the work that you do when you're preparing a lesson plan for your students, the
Mm-hmm.
work that you do when you're preparing yourself just to be there for your family or go to work so you can bring home the bacon and pay the bills, right? That's really important,
Mm-hmm.
and this entire podcast really also celebrates, self-care, taking care of ourselves through these journeys. So, I just want to remind folks, like, that is the ceremonial work that we do in honoring our lives, honoring the love, the blessings that we have, and the grace that affords us to keep living. That matters.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you keep spoiling and treating yourself to that goodness, folks. Make
Yep.
sure you keep doing that for the labors of love that you are putting out into the world, because it matters, even though sometimes it might feel like it doesn't, even though sometimes, you're doing all of this stuff and, like, does it, you know what I mean? It can feel like that, but
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
And you see it come back to you in the most meaningful ways, right? It's not in the ways that sometimes we think, or we think that we want. It's
Right.
always in the ways that we need. So.
I tell myself I often get trapped in my head, and I often feel like when it gets really hard for me, um, after complaining to everyone I see, and after feeling sorry for myself, I I kind of realize, like, this is something's about to happen. Like, this is when, like, when it starts getting to that point where you feel like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I don't know if I can take this anymore. I don't. I just know that something has to change. It's usually gonna happen relatively soon, if not, maybe longer. But the important thing to remember is, this is part of it. And once you weather this storm, it's going to be so much sweeter. And these things that you've been working so hard for are going to start to become attainable, and they're going to start to be within, reaching distance, or something completely different that you had no idea was going to happen is going to happen for you, and it takes you down another journey. But it's hard. Life is really, really hard. Life is very challenging. So it's easy to get caught up in those moments. But like you said, when you take time to make offerings, pay respect, pray, be with yourself, feel the love, feel the energy, it all becomes, I guess, it almost like everything just kind of slows down, and everything just, you kind of sit with it, and all these horrible things that you're experiencing, you start slowly realizing, like, this is not that big of a deal. That's not that big of a deal. I'm okay. At the end of the day, I have everything I need, everyone that I love, and tomorrow's a new day. And then usually something happens, something wonderful happens, and in my experience, it's something completely different than what I thought it was going to be or what I wanted. You know what I mean? So it is very important. And I thank my wife all the time, because she's the one who kind of keeps me in check with that stuff, because we've both experienced a lot, and she doesn't really tell me to do certain things. I just watch her. You know what I mean? Like, I come home and she's doing yoga, but like she's not just doing yoga. She's doing yoga with, there's candles and there's lights and there's, it's always very, like, everything's a ritual for her, and she's always doing that, and it's just, it just reminds me, like, all that other bullshit is bullshit. Like, this is This is what it's all about, being in the moment, and she's so good at that. So, I know she'll listen to this. So shout out to you. But yeah, I mean, it's so important. It's so vital. And then when you do get these things that you want or that you need or that make you happy, it just feels better. It feels more complete. You know what I mean? Like you just appreciate it so much more. So I'm right there with you, buddy.
I want to continue on that. A wise woman by the name of Oprah,
Oh,
Oprah Winfrey. Maybe you're familiar. Uh, you know, she said, and I mean, this really stuck with me. There's power in really accepting this too shall pass.
mm-hmm,
And when we really break that down, what that means is there's a storm passing overhead,
mm-hmm,
and I ain't moving.
mm-hmm.
You know, and there's a lot to that. There's a lot to that because when we recognize that, suddenly when we recognize that we can be still in the middle of these storms, that we can observe things, it gives us so much more space,
Yeah,
not to put in fear and anxiety, but to pause and actually instill more grace and gratitude, grace that you're able to withstand the storm, that you uniquely were built for this particular storm.
mm-hmm,
Maybe you are standing in there to help someone else through. And oftentimes we find that, right? These storms become testimony,
yeah,
right? Right. We walk through it just so other people didn't have to go through it or to help them along their way.
absolutely.
When we kind of surrender to life in that, and something that I really like to remind folks on, my name Rashon means bright sun, and mom means God's helper. And I try to maintain, it's just a positive attitude overall, keep it real,
Mm-hmm,
but a positive attitude about things. And I think that has always come from understanding that, you know, sometimes the storms that are so big to us really aren't that big, and we see them after they've passed. And there's nothing like standing in a storm, grounding yourself in gratitude, and then maybe seeing somebody else
mm-hmm.
standing in a storm system, and you're like, wow, and maybe they've been in that for a long time.
Yeah,
Maybe they're being knocked around, maybe, and it really allows you to say, man, I've gone through some things. I've gone through something. It's not nearly as challenging or maybe what someone else went up against. And it then allows you to have even more gratitude,
mm-hmm,
right? Other things happening in your life,
yeah,
you know, because the more we move ourselves from this is happening to me into the position of this is happening for me,
mm-hmm,
man, the more life opens up for you, the
yeah,
more those roads open up for you, and you take that on with grace as
yeah,
those things happen, because that happens for everybody, and yet there are so many people that aren't afforded that luxury, and I
mm-hmm,
want to be very clear on that. It's very easy, I think, in our culture to celebrate self-care or celebrate these moments or these quotations or these things, but there are so many folks in different areas of our own nation and our own communities that aren't afforded these things. So when
yeah,
we think about that, when we sit on that, allow it to, I don't, for myself, it allows me in those moments of being in storms to have even more grace and gratitude. It
yeah,
doesn't mean that I don't, I'm not human and I don't cry and
mm-hmm,
that I don't pull out my hair. It doesn't mean that sometimes recently I was going through a storm, a couple things, and little did I know there's an email waiting.
right,
It's like a email that moving me forward.
yep,
But I was so determined to wallow in the storm,
yeah,
you know what I mean? And
yep,
I missed the email by like a week and a half,
yep,
and it just made me smile because, life is always happening for us.
yeah,
Even when I was in that storm, it was things were already coming to pass.
yeah.
So
Well, yeah,
it's
and that's what I mean. Like we get trapped in that victim role because it's easy.
it's
It's
easy.
easy. It's so
It's
easy. And
It's human. Wait, let's also be kinder. It's human.
oh yeah, yeah,
It's easy, but it's human.
yeah,
It's why we're here.
yeah.
What I mean?
It
It's
is
why, because guess what? We just went through something. So
exactly.
it's okay to hurt. It's
Yeah,
okay to You know what I mean?
No, 100%. And that's kind of what I was trying to like, like for me, it's like I don't even have to see I don't have to see another person go through something. I can just look back at my past and say, like, what are you tripping about right now, dude? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you've been through A, B, C, D, and E, and you're still here, and now you're trying to actually do positive things. So why are you so worried about this? But, like you said, it's human nature. It is human nature to just constantly worry and, just wallow in self-pity. And, because I don't know, maybe it's back to like our childhood or something, just that nurturing feeling. We just want, someone to feel sorry for us. And then, like validation almost.
Yeah, the longer we live, who knows
Yeah.
why, we go through it, but I do know that we go through it to grow through it.
Yeah.
So I
100%.
think that's like, I've latched on to that,
Mhm.
because we can really go, like, who knows why the motivations, to do it, but the opportunity, I think that's the special part about the human experience, and that what we're given, we're flawed, we go through these things, but it's that ability to get back up, it's that ability to move forward,
Yeah.
forgiveness, like I guess that would be, forgiving ourselves,
Yeah.
and knowing that there's a new, sunrise tomorrow, there's a new opportunity to make it better for yourself and those around you. And I think in that, I try to lean into that as much as possible, because sometimes, we try to think about that root cause, man. That
Yeah.
can take more time. That can actually keep
Right.
putting us back. Sometimes it's just like,
You
who
know,
knows? But we can move forward.
not to, so do you remember the movie, was it Evan Almighty? Yeah, Evan Almighty.
Oh, yeah. That was
So
Steve Carell's one, right?
yeah,
It
yeah,
followed
yeah,
Bruce.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. Bruce Almighty, then Evan Almighty. So Morgan Freeman plays God, obviously, and in that, I want to say it was towards the end of the movie, but he said, which obviously he wasn't the first person to say it, but said, like when you pray for patience, do you think God just gives you patience, or do you think He presents an opportunity for you to practice patience? And I think about that a lot of times, often it's usually too late, but, and it always brings me back, because it's like, yeah, like everything, like like why have I been pissed off for the last 2 weeks? And it's the same thing every single day. And it's like, it won't change. And it's once again, it's poor me, and it's their fault, and it's their fault, and it's their fault. And then I sit back, and it's like, maybe I just need to work on my patience. Maybe I just need to, work on my anger. Maybe, and it's, once I kind of look at it from a different perspective, things really do change. But I think about that all the time, because I always, I pray daily, and I'm always praying for things like that, courage, strength, love, patience, and then that's pretty much it. I don't really pray for material things or anything like that. But then, all these things happen to me throughout the day that irritate me or get under my skin. And it's like, it seems like it's heightened, like, why is this irritating me so much? And it's like, this is your chance, practice it, take advantage of it.
That's so real. My buddy Zach put me on that, man. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't know, now when you mentioned Evan Almighty, I was like, yeah, I wonder if he did get that from
I mean, it's
it
great,
was several
great
years
movie.
ago, it could have, but he was really putting me on to that, be aware of what you're calling into your life,
Yeah.
and then be
Careful
aware
what
of
you
how
ask for. Yeah.
you're handling it, because he used the same example with patience. But for him, he was having car trouble repeatedly.
Mm.
And he was like, man, I kept asking God, like, give me more patience to handle these things.
Right.
And then I realized, man, my car keeps running, like, that's how you develop that,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very interesting that we can call into our lives some of the very lessons that we're looking to improve upon for ourselves. Those very, I guess, some of those character
Yeah.
traits. So no, that's really that's real.
Yeah, and I'm very literal, so it's like, if I pray for somebody, it's like I want to see that sign, and I expect it to be exactly how I presented it to you. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. Okay.
doesn't. It
Um,
does.
so obviously you talked a little bit about some storms that you've weathered,
Mhm.
and I just wanted to talk or ask you when you are faced with adversity. Obviously, I'm sure it's changed throughout your life, but what is your go to get through that? How do you process?
Uh, I would definitely. I'm a very. I'm an introvert, 100%.
Mhm.
So when I'm going through things, I give myself the grace to go through them. I will say that,
Okay.
and I noticed that a lot of folks maybe aren't. I don't know about a lot of folks, and that's not fair to say, but for myself, when I'm going through adversity, the first thing I do is I give myself space,
Mhm.
and then I try to, then lean on a pretty strong support system. I've noticed that I'm very blessed to have like-minded folk all the way down to you. I mean, just if need, I could pick up a phone and call, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And like folks that would really be able to hear and listen. Like, and I've learned over the years we don't always give each other that,
Mhm.
or we don't, you know what I mean? Or we don't always feel like we have those kind of relationships in our life. So I've learned through my friendships and other friends going, man, you're that friend for me. I'm like, man, I'm very grateful that I have a couple of friends that I
Mhm.
can call upon when my back's against the wall, when I don't feel like, I can make it out of the bed, when it's a tough day, when I feel like, I'm inundated with orders, or I don't have any orders. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, the ups and downs of life. I definitely find leaning on my faith, leaning on God, and leaning on that support system gets me through. I'm developing through the act of journaling and being more intentional, uh, the muscle to immediately go right to gratitude.
Mhm.
I know some people are really good about that,
Mhm.
Um, I definitely am human. So
Yeah.
I like to remind myself of that. Like, I ain't trying to like, I like to feel things,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I like to listen to a heartbreaking album and cry. I like to watch a rom-com, something on Hallmark. I'm in touch with my feelings.
Yeah.
So, also when I'm going through these things, I like to feel, like I said, I like to sit with it. I like to feel it. Um, yeah. So I think that's really it. I allow myself to feel it, go
Yeah.
through it, and then rise, I think, but that is, I would say that's my process. I
What do
don't
you?
really have
What's
activity.
your? How do you rise?
Huh. Um, I think it's all a loop.
Mhm.
So, it just, I once saw a graphic over the past couple years, from a book, and it was illustrated quite well. But it's just like how the pattern loop.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, I can't do it, or this is challenging. What? Oh, I can't. Boom, 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 and then you just start up a new chapter. You go through it. One thing I can say is the activity that I do is I find this amazing romance with time
Mhm.
at moments of adversity. It's something that is, I don't feel it, but it's something where not that I just process what I'm going through, but um, I I give myself that, what can I be doing if I can't do this, right?
Mhm.
You really, if I feel like there's a mountain in front of me, I pause and I'm like, yo, well, what's the first step to climb it? I think that's also not until talking, that's a great question. Not until, saying this back to you do I realize, something I often tell other folks is left foot, right foot.
Mhm.
This go-to piece of advice for me when other folks are going through things. And that's
Yeah.
really how I take my life. Like, I invest in myself to make the next move always my best move in that moment. And I show up to know that, right? So I don't ever look back and go, "Oh, that was a poor." No, that was the right step to move me to the next step and the next step, and I had to go through those steps to get to this step. So I'm very deliberate in that.
Okay.
So whether that's a hastily made decision or a long term, I notice that same amount of care with time. I do that for myself when facing moments of adversity. I give myself the grace to go through it. I call upon the support that's needed, and then I navigate those waters. I one paddle at a time, one
Yeah.
stroke at a time, one foot at a time, and I take it on, and I always come out victorious.
Yeah.
I'll say that, and I won't say I always come out victorious, but I'll definitely throw up. God always comes out victorious because I just feel like I'm just a vessel for a much larger mission. So, you
I like
know,
that.
yeah, he keeps bringing me out of these things,
Right.
and
Yeah.
of course, hey.
I hear you, man. I mean, I feel the same way a lot of times. Um, what like do you have any sort of daily routine that you follow?
Oh yeah,
What
oh
do you
yeah.
got? Share it with us, buddy.
Oh man, I love this. It's very interesting. I noticed men we're like that's really become like a common thing I've noticed. And
What's
like,
that?
what's your routine? Like, how are you living your life? And I love that. Um, I notice because for a while, it really became popular, especially with social media and
Yeah.
things like that. Women were definitely, you're definitely all genders. Not very fair just to eliminate the one, but hey girl, what's your skincare routine?
Right.
Um, so I love that I'm hearing more
Yeah.
of this kind of conversation with men happening because guys don't always know how to take care of ourselves or where to start. And especially once you become a dad, you know what I mean? I noticed, man, for parents, once that parent thing happens, man, if you don't have a
It's hard.
foundation,
Yeah. Yep.
oh, my prayers out with you guys. For that being said, for myself, I definitely follow the circadian flow of life 100%. And it's something that I've always followed. My body always responded to it.
Mm.
When I don't follow it, it's typically because I'm living a lifestyle or doing things that I have no business
Yeah.
doing, right? And you learn that the longer you live. Um, and it's very interesting because the same routine that I'll go through and break down is the same one that we see our silver foxes, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Our pepper hair citizens going through towards the later years of life,
Yeah.
seniors, things like that. So I remember even in my 20s as I was adopting healthier habits, people saying, "Oh man, you're living like a quote unquote old person," but actually that's a very healthy routine. And what that is rising with the sun. My body naturally kind of gets up as the sun is getting up. I allow myself not to rush. I try not to because my mind is constantly always
Mm.
thinking of what I can be doing. Um, I think that's just a chosen. I choose to take that on. Constantly feel like
Yeah.
I could be doing something. But I give myself some grace just to do nothing in the morning. Now having Motorola, that's my dog. He's an American Staffordshire Terrier.
Nice.
Now having him in my life for just over a year now has also really helped with the routine of getting up in the morning, taking time for myself, getting my morning cuddles with my puppy, and then going out, going outside for that morning walk.
Yeah.
Uh, I definitely love my tea in the morning, as you can imagine. And then several of the blends that I offer, most of them, they also correspond to a different hour in the day. So when
Okay.
you more about like the circadian rhythm, things like that, you realize different hours and blocks of hours of the day correspond to different organs in our body. So it's really ideal to eat certain foods at a certain time and exercise
Wow.
a certain
I didn't
time
know
and
that.
things like that. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm actually writing a whole book about it.
Nice.
So yeah. So but it's a really amazing way to live.
Yeah.
And when you follow the circadian way of life, it's a reminder again. I really try to approach these tenets of life in a way that are accessible to all, no matter what your background is, and something that's really beautiful, backed by science.
Hmm.
That's also in every ancient culture is the understanding that we are beings of light.
Yeah.
We are direct descendants of the sun. Everything on our earth is reflected by the movements and frequencies and those energies of the sun. So when we just tap into those things and actually reset our understanding of that, it's a wonderful thing. So starting out my day with gratitude, quiet, stillness, a little bit of activity, some tea, making sure by midday I'm also
Some
getting
natural light.
yes, natural light for
Hmm.
sure. That's one of the best ways to actually keep your eyes strong and healthy, especially as we're living older
Hmm.
and developing more complications with our eyes,
Hmm.
but just allowing yourself to allow your eyes to adjust with the sunrise is a huge uh, hack. It's
Yeah.
just an amazing hack. Um, and then a huge tip I give folks when it comes to eating, something that I definitely respect is not spiking my blood sugar and insulin levels early in the morning. So, I definitely encourage folks to explore eating salads in the morning.
Hmm.
We need to be eating many more salads. The entire our relationship, especially in American diet, for breakfast foods, brunch is god awful, and it
Carbs.
doesn't get us anywhere.
Yeah.
It does. Thank you. But switching that out with the salads in the morning, you know, and you can do a lot of fun things with veggies in the morning, like I'll roast up like or bake, roast, however you will, some squash,
Hmm.
things like that. You know what I mean? And squash is like really sweet, like some good acorn squash. You can find some wonderful local acorn squash right at Meyer throughout the state right now.
Right.
But yeah, just getting some squash, things like that, because that like in the morning, it's almost like super sweet. You can like
Yeah.
blend it up and make these like delicious like part. It's just I like to have fun.
Okay.
Get self something good to move with. Lunchtime, typically keep it easy. Evening, to try to wind it down. That's my big core. Sundays always for gratitude. Sundays are the day of the sun, right? So Sundays are the day of the sun. Saturdays reflect if you really want to get into it, Sunday, sun, that's Sunday. So that's the day of sun.
Hmm.
That's the day of manifesting, writing down your intentions, affirmations for the weeks, goals for the weeks, really getting clear with it. That best day to do your meal prepping, setting things up. So you really are taking on your responsibilities
Yeah.
uh, with as much control as possible. And the Saturday is, again, relaxing in so many different ways, but that's also the day of Saturn, right? Saturn's day and that rule. So, it's a lot of ourselves to, I guess, do a bit more shadow work in the weekend and things like that. So folks should consider that when taking on their schedules because, just kind of doing a couple things,
Hmm.
hacking your life with the literal flow of the planet is really something. And another thing I want to really tell folks with that, when you follow those routines, what starts to happen are those other senses that science is definitely backing that we have. Those senses like intuition,
Hmm.
those senses like telepathy, those senses, the heightened awareness that you can have for your life and for the environments, being able to, I mean, it allows you to level up so much faster when you are just really in the flow.
Hmm.
You hear a lot of folks call it flow state and things like that. So those are routines I really follow.
Yeah. And I
Um,
think it helps also just alleviate a lot of distractions.
mhm,
You know,
mhm.
I mean, from what I've found too, it's, I mean, yeah, it does so many wonderful things and it is getting in tune with yourself and your surroundings, but also it's just, I notice when I'm following a routine, a daily routine and sticking to it, I either don't realize the distractions or they're not there. You know what I mean? So, yeah, definitely huge. Do you cook a lot? You enjoy cooking?
I love cooking.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
absolutely love cooking. Yeah, yeah, I'm a great cook.
Yeah.
A
All
lot.
right.
Yeah, a really great cook, and I love the fact that I had to adapt. Right, I had to go
Yeah.
from everything being baptized in grease and fried,
Right.
and learn, what I mean, a very unhealthy way
Yeah.
of working with a relationship with food, and then having to learn, how to really make a whole vegan meal
Yeah.
be
Are you
worthwhile.
are you total vegan?
No,
Okay.
no way.
Okay.
Human.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
so I guess the term that is being widely accepted throughout, the nutritional world, lifestyle world is flexitarian. I guess that's the term. Flexible with it. What I allow myself to do is listen to my body's needs,
Okay.
and that's something that I definitely have been able to master for myself, and then educate others through my one-on-one coaching. Again, that's a huge chunk of what I'm writing about. When you understand the relationship with food, understand the relationship with your body, and this comes down to understand like vitamins,
Hmm.
minerals, like those basic foundational things of life. suddenly eating takes on a whole different role
Yeah.
because it's not, you're treating your body as a car, and you really are understanding that the type of fuel you put in matters. So many of us are out here, driving around a Lexus and throwing in some, really crappy diesel, or something like that, or things that don't, I don't know, maybe they are diesel engine, I don't know. But you know what I mean? We're not putting in the right oil, the right gasoline, and then
Hmm.
we're not taking care of our bodies in the proper ways. So definitely my relationship with food has come a long way because I eat based on the needs,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, if I have a taste for something sweet, I'm asking myself, well, what's going on? Do I have something else going on right now? Am I nervous about something? Is there something I'm avoiding? You know what I mean? Like this, that's a real thing, like, so I just ask myself a bit more, and then I allow myself to create what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I've been able to uh, replace so many unhealthy things with like deliciously great healthy things,
Yeah.
so you have like those cravings and stuff, I don't feel guilty about it. But you know um foods that I try not to eat too much of, like pork, I really don't like messing with. I don't, that's no good, no
Yeah.
good. Stay away from pork. um Dairy is absolutely horrible. If I can just do a quick PSA, this is going for many women of color especially. 80% of up to 80%, the numbers fluctuate depending on the sources. So we could say as low as 65%, as high as 80% of women of color primarily are lactose intolerant.
Wow.
And that is really significant because when it comes down to being able to actually digest dairy, that goes to butter. And a lot of folks forget, butter is dairy. So even when folks are like, eating vegetables and things like that, but you still putting that butter on it, you're still actually causing your body harm. The reason why that matters, especially for African Americans and specifically females right now that I want to address, is because dairy, soy, chemical hair straighteners, these are also endocrine disruptors. So they then block and disrupt our endocrine system, our hormonal system.
Hmm.
And what that then does is increase our estrogen
Hmm.
production. And that's no good for women because too much estrogen then manifests itself in the body as fibroids. So a lot of folks right now, there's been an epidemic, a rise of women with fibroids and a lot of fertility issues. And a lot of it is coming down with the foods that we're eating, and they're not compatible at all to our genetic makeup.
Hmm.
So that's why a lot of women who have fibroids are unable to have children or all these other, infertility issues. Once menopause hits, it's like, oh, finally they're finding relief, the pains go away because suddenly your body's no longer producing estrogen and starts producing more progesterone, which then decreases that. So then like the fibroids go away and things like that. And it really sucks. It's because it's like actually just switching up the diet,
Yeah.
avoiding some of those things, you know what I mean? Removing those endocrine disruptors and just incorporating some other herbs. And I'm so very grateful that I don't just advocate for these things, but I live this life, and then I've been able to help other folks get through it. Like hearing women say, "You know what? I listened to what you did. I took that, uterine
Yeah.
fibroid class," things like that. That really made a huge difference. And my fibroids are shrinking. They're going away. Like that's everything. So that's a huge part of my diet. Like I really try to avoid dairy, and that's just for me as an African American. I do want to say for my white brothers and sisters, man, eat it up. You know what I mean?
Why?
You literally, your body
Why
don't
is
know,
it
bro.
so different?
Lactose intolerant, man. It's just completely different. But for a lot of us, many of us African Americans, man, it's no good for us, man.
Why
So
for?
I didn't know that. My favorite foods are like pizza and ice cream.
Right.
Those are
Yeah.
my favorite foods.
Why? Why African Americans though?
What did you say?
Why African Americans? Like what?
That's,
What's the difference there?
so yeah, so the lactose enzyme,
Okay.
right? Um, our bodies are not able to digest it, break that down. So what happens throughout when you are an infant, right? Your bodies have a completely different gut makeup, right? So all infants are able to. They're not lactose intolerant. There are some children are born,
Yeah.
babies are born like with some issues, but for the most part, no, that's not the case. And what naturally happens is over time, as you are supposed to wean off of that breast milk, your body also is supposed to just naturally not need the milk anymore. So it stops producing the enzymes and things like that that's needed to actually break down that milk.
Wow.
So that often happens most times for African Americans. We no longer are producing the enzymes needed to actually break down the lactose.
Hmm.
So that's what happens, So, and because we don't know this, like, I think it's really interesting because you can look at like baby pictures of me and I'm just like covered in mucus. I'm a fat baby covered in mucus. I'm like, all that damn congestion,
Right.
and that's literally from like too much dairy,
Yeah.
like back is like, now understanding that. Like that was all, like my favorite foods.
Right.
However, if you I mean, you opened up this little Pandora box, so I have to finish it.
Yeah.
Here's the crazy thing. So milk has something in it called casein, and casein for animals is one of those binding ingredients, a part of milk, that actually helps create a bond between calf and mother. Okay, so all mammals produce casein in their milk, and like I said, casein has different effects on the body and things, but it really helps to create and forge that bond between mother and child, right?
Okay.
Now, cows have 4 times as much casein in their milk as we do as humans. Why does this matter? If you're a child and you're born not necessarily drinking breast milk, or maybe you were drinking breast milk and your mom was still drinking dairy,
Hmm.
what you're being passed are animal casein. And so think about that. Every time you're upset as a child, it's about soothing, right? Okay, so does my baby need to eat? Right? So we develop early on as a baby the same coping mechanisms that we're trying to break as adults, right?
Hmm.
The reasons of self-soothing, right? Our unhealthy habits with these things. So you think about cheese and dairy and things like that, that goes back to milk. A lot of this that's these comfort foods.
Yeah.
That's where it comes from, right? So we find ourselves, with these almost addictions to these foods and we have no idea, and I think about Thanksgiving. How many Thanksgivings,
Right.
and a big old thing of mac and cheese there and all
Right.
this other stuff, and we're celebrating life and stuff, but then, we get so full and we feel the itis. That's inflammation
Yeah.
and that's your body hurting.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to realize that, but that's what's going on. So thank you very much for giving me the space to educate and talk about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Um, I know a lot has changed for you. Like you said, you're constantly mutating and adapting and changing. But as long as I've known you, and I'm sure even before then, you've just been a very just a beautiful person, just very well rounded, respectful, graceful, and polite, and more than anything, just very welcoming. What, who taught you that, or how did that come about? Like, where did you pick that up from in life? That
I
that personality that you have.
think that's just me.
Yeah.
And I now at this stage in my life, and I think over the past, years, I've really walked into that understanding. That's just me,
Okay.
you know. And it took a second. What happens, I think, for myself is that this you're seeing and I appreciate you saying that because that you're saying you've seen a level of consistency.
Yeah.
Like that's who I am, and I
Mm.
appreciate that. And all that is a reflection of the parents, the family, the friends, and environments that allowed me to be myself unapologetically. You know, and that's so it's me 100%, but it's a me that's also been like, like it's if I'm a garden, there's been so many people who've come by and watered,
Mm.
watered my crops, watered my fields, and said, "Nah, man, keep going,
Yeah.
talk that talk," you know what I mean, or believe, have dreams, like, I came out the womb with vision,
Yeah.
and dreams, goals, and I've always been pretty, surrounded by folks that have always believed in the power of achieving those things. I've always been surrounded by individuals who have, in their own right, been their best, most authentic selves. And by that, it doesn't, I'm not talking about, successful as far as a job or status of income. I'm talking about people that are just happy to be alive or doing their, whatever their thing is. I've just always been surrounded by that,
Hmm.
and that grounding. And I've chosen to surround myself with individuals who get that,
Yeah.
because I've always known since a child that's what it is. Like that's life. That it's these moments.
Hmm.
That like how refreshing this is. That we have given ourselves this, that we saw life get to the. So, you
Right. Right.
you have contributed
Yeah.
to this right here, very much so. And I really say that. I'm a reflection, of the love that's been put into me. And then so many people, not telling me, I don't color in the lines, I splash, I make puddles,
Yeah.
what I mean? And having folks that said that's okay,
Hmm.
do that actually looks a little bit cool, what I mean? And then at the same time, uh I've also never been one to get high off my own hype,
Yeah.
high off my own press. So these same individuals will knock me right down,
Hmm.
will humble me, So, even, I think that's really great,
Yeah.
even
You're
back
very
now.
courageous too. I mean, that takes a lot of courage to do that. It does. Because, my whole life I've had lots of goals, lots of visions, and I maybe went after 10% of them due to
Mm,
fear. And it took me a long time to realize that and to slowly make some strides towards things that I actually want to achieve, because I realized, like, what are you afraid of? What would you rather live in the realm that you're in right now, being unhappy and wanting these things, or just try it and see what happens? Because then if you do fail, you at least are going to learn something, right? And that's been like my biggest learning curve throughout this whole process is I just keep trying things. Like, I didn't know how to sync audio and video, 8 months ago, and now it's like I could do it. I can tell you in 2 seconds how to do it, and it's like that might not seem like a big deal, but to me, that was one of the fears. Like, I don't know how to do this shit. I don't even want to try it. I don't even want to attempt it because I don't want to be judged. I don't want to, it's hard putting yourself out there, and you do it a lot, and and I'm sure you've had many failures and many setbacks, and you just keep coming back. You just keep coming back, and you're learning and you're growing from each one. So now you're pretty much a star at it. So.
appreciate you saying that. Thank you very much.
Hmm.
Because I recently heard something, because I face those same things too,
Hmm.
like, let's be clear, and especially, uh, just those fear and anxieties. Something that a lot of folks don't know about me. I have horrible panic attacks,
Okay.
right? I mean, my gosh. I mean, we were talking debilitating panic attacks have happened in my life. So I have a real thing with um, control over things, over worrying, anxieties,
Hmm.
and to the point where it can be crippling,
Yeah.
to the point, where it can just knock me out. Uh, I recently heard someone say something, and I've been applying it especially heavily through this new season of life. And I'm going to say it right here because I appreciate you saying, you know what, man, you're courageous, and I've seen you do this time and time, put yourself, try things like that's, and something that I'm using right now to help, that adds, right, some more water to these
Yeah.
fields to keep, being my best self, and, bringing out the lion within. Uh, this person said, this opportunity before me, is it the old me that's scared of this opportunity? Like the person that I was, am I looking at this as the person that I was
Hmm.
scared, or the person that I know I'm going to be? because if you catch up to the person that you know you're going to be, that opportunity right there was very important. That was a
Yeah.
step. That step led to, where, and that's allowed me, I'm not going to lie, especially right now, moving into that seat of being an author, a published author, really writing all of this journey, writing an herbalism textbook, right?
Hmm.
Preserve the legacy of my mentors and my ancestors and the work that I'm doing, right? And to actually have um, a guide by which to then instruct and teach by, and to put out new editions every year, to write my own story of testimony to inspire others. It takes a lot, right? It took another, okay, I'm ready to do this. I've been
Hmm.
working on this for years, in that undertaking. But, I immediately asked myself, is the old me,
Yeah.
afraid of this? I recently had to reach out to some amazing partners that are helping me with like product development and things like that, getting ready for store shelves and, national
Nice.
distribution. Shout out to MSU, Michigan State University, for providing those kind of services to the community.
Nice.
That being said, I remember before I had to get on like a conference call a few months ago, being nervous. I was like, bro, are you really gonna like not attend this meeting that's for you
Right.
out of fear? That's the old you.
Yeah.
That's the old you putting up things and saying no, whatever it could be, because the real you, new you in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
you in 5 years. Nah, man,
Right.
you woke up, you did this interview,
Right.
and you move forward, man.
And do you
So
do you think like you're afraid of do you ever feel like you might be afraid of who you might become too? Does that ever like cross your mind?
no, no, not ever. No,
Okay.
I've always had a grand vision for myself, and that what I think I can become afraid of is I really like being human. I keep saying that because I
Hmm.
enjoy this experience. I do. I think it's a wonderful opportunity that we have. Um, and I think I'm not I for one like enjoy procrastinating. Oh my
Yeah.
God. I mean, but I think
No,
I
I know what
do.
you're saying. Yeah.
You really hear me,
Hmm.
and I think I've developed a romance with the ability to save my ass in a clutch situation if I'm putting something off because of fear and
Yeah.
anxiety. I think I've learned more about myself and going through those cycles when the back's against the wall through that, so
I'm the same
uh,
way.
you know
Honestly, I feel exactly the same way.
I just oh that's more so my I think my approach. Did I answer
Even well, even like throughout school, everything. I was always like I knew how to do it. I knew I should do it, but I'm enjoying this right now. And then I would like wait until, a day or two before the assignment was due or whatever. And like you said, back against the wall. And I feel like sometimes it got the best out of me. Ultimately, I think always it got the best out of me. And then I've applied that throughout my life. And, is it the best technique? I don't know. Probably not. But it's worked out well, and you know what I mean? And it's like, I feel the exact same way because it's like, I'm like, I could go do that right now, but,
right,
I also know that I could do it the night before and do it probably pretty amazing. And like, and I don't say that in like a ha ha way. It's just, that's just how I operate. You know what I
right,
mean? It's just how I operate. And I think maybe what you're trying to get out, and I cut you off, I'm sorry, but like, the more responsibilities we accumulate, it's like that becomes harder to do. Like you can't really put the things off anymore. And then and then I think when you put the heavier stuff off, that fear sets back in, and
Mhm.
you know what I mean? So
Yeah, and I
the
love what you're
anxiety and the
putting that
panic.
because
Yeah.
I wasn't I hadn't really processed it, but that is so true, um, because the more responsibilities that have come, through this journey that come about, it forces you to have more shit to do,
Yeah.
and that takes away from that other space of being,
Yeah.
right? Other space of being. So thank you very much for being able to articulate that back in a way I hadn't really processed, but that really is it.
Yeah.
That really is it. And so often in life, especially when you're a doer like me, I can always feel like I'm always doing that.
Yeah.
Always feel like I'm always working on something or doing something like. So now I have to deliberately,
Mhm.
and I teach others about this, but I have to deliberately make time and say, no, well, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going
Yeah.
to, right. And now that's where I've learned. How about this? It took me now realizing had I just done that from day one, I'd be much further off because I would always be much more present to
Yeah.
actually do things that need to be done. But so many times I realize for myself I could be living on burnout energy
Hmm.
as myself, and that's not good.
Yeah.
You live long, you keep living long. You're like, okay, well, procrastinating like this doesn't really kind of work out. So let me add a little bit of wisdom.
Yeah.
Like you said, maybe I do have to do this the night before, and if that's the way it's gonna come out, that's the way it's supposed to come out.
Yeah.
Because I'm rested the next day and I can do.
Exactly. Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
you find that. And then something else my dad was saying, and I've as you see this with your life too, the things that we can put so much energy into, or the things that we think are it, enough time passes by, you're like, what was that for?
Hmm.
Or man, the way I was thinking at that age, and I thought that was going to be, and nah,
Yeah.
so you start to look at those things and weigh it out a bit. That comes with the wisdom and the discipline over the
Yeah. And
years.
that's all part of the journey too.
Amen.
Because if you wouldn't have went down those roads, and maybe you wouldn't be where you are right now either.
Come
So,
on.
so I know it's getting late, so I just want to. There's something I ask everyone, and I wanted to ask you, and then we'll wrap this up. But if little Rashawn came walking through that door right now, what advice would you offer him?
I looked over to the side. I was like, "Who's this kid?" Hey! What advice would I give little Rashawn? Man, uh,
And not to cut you off, the reason I ask this is because A, we're hard on ourselves, and B, I think we're really hard on that kid too that we used to be, and a lot of people can't forgive that person or forget that person or whatever it may be. So this kind of, I've noticed as I've asked this question to different people, everybody's response is different and everybody kind of embraces it in a different way. But ultimately, it's just to say, hey, just sit down for a second and just think about your past and that little boy, and just if he came walking through like, man, I'm struggling right now, what do I do? Like, just what would you offer him? Some sort of life advice?
uh, mhm. It's really interesting because in 2020, I found myself sometime around then
Hmm.
looking at pictures of myself from childhood. And I think it's significant as I'm processing this question. And I remember thinking, I identify more with that person now than I remember. There was a time in my life where, and we'll call it the awkward years,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
the awkward years, that you're growing up and you're figuring things out.
Middle school.
You know what I mean? And I didn't, what did you say?
Middle school.
Yeah, middle school.
Yeah.
Well, if it's supposed to be middle school, mine lasted all the way till 22.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Uh,
you know what I mean. Yeah. Right. It's where it starts,
okay.
though. Yeah.
Um, but I remember almost feeling detached
Yeah.
from that kid, like I don't, and now I remember looking back and going, man, I feel so. I remember that kid more. I remember, that energy.
Yeah.
So if I saw that person, Lil Ra, like coming through, I think I'd be really excited.
Yeah.
I really do. Because there was a real vision I had for myself. Uh I know it sounds funny, but I was just like, I really wanted to grow up to be a cool guy.
Yeah.
No, I did, I just really did, you know what I mean? Whatever that meant to me,
Hmm.
but I just, and if I could say anything, it'll just continue, it's just like, you got this, the things that are so valid, the things that you're figuring out, you already know.
Yeah.
I think that's if I could give myself, I mean, one like, man, the things that you're gonna be figuring out, man, you already know. So if you could give yourself even more time to slow down, I feel like I've been given so much time in my life just to live life and enjoy it, and if I could tell myself, a young me, to go back and say, bro, you can give yourself even more time,
Yeah.
because I think so much of my life, when I look back at those years where I didn't identify with Lil Ra, I like that, Lil Ra. Um, when I didn't identify with him, um, I wasn't I wasn't really living, I think, maybe as my most authentic self. I was growing, I don't know, but I think the kid's all right. I think he's doing a good job, and I would tell him, just, you know, be more of that,
Yeah.
just be more of that. That's the only thing I can say,
I
because
like
that's
it.
the only thing that has happened over the years
There's not
since.
a wrong answer.
Yeah, I know it's not a wrong one. It's, as I look back, but that question, the only thing that changed in those years was doubt, you
Yeah.
know, second guessing, the time that we spend not loving
Yeah.
ourselves, you know what I mean? Or thinking we're not good enough, or the time we spend in environments, relationships we ain't got no business in,
Yeah.
but we're going through that to learn. We ain't got no business in.
Yeah.
You gotta go through it.
Hmm.
But that's about it. I'm telling you, man, I'm really grateful for this life that I've led, been able to, I had such big dreams, as a kid, and I did so many of them, and like, I still have laid a foundation to do more. So I would just tell that little Rod to keep going, man. Keep going, and be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and it's and it's okay to be a loner in that way. I guess
Hmm.
that's the thing I'd say. Yeah, I always liked my, you know what I mean? I thought for a while there's something wrong with me, you know what I mean? Like, I'm socially awkward, or, I don't get down like other kids, or I don't do this, or
Right.
I've never been much of a good drinker, like,
Right. Right.
like party, get drunk. I will get sick, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, so I couldn't keep up in certain ways, and you kind of measure it. But no, that wasn't for me. It wasn't
Yeah.
for me. It was, so
Right.
look, just keep going, man. Just keep
I
going.
love it, man. I like it. Um, yeah, thank you, man. Thank
What
you.
would you tell yourself, man?
Honestly, I've thought about this and there's a few different things, but I'd say number one is, and I think I've done a really good job at it, is just don't give up. Like there's many times in my life where, like I wanted to bad. And I'm not talking about giving up on life, just giving up with whatever situation it was. And at a younger age, I did it all the time. I just always gave up. And then, like I let me rephrase. Let me go back here. So there was a time when when I was young, and I had a lot of confidence. And then right around that time, like, like middle school and high school and stuff, I had, like you were saying, a lot of self doubt. And there was a lot of things that I was, just, I would not want to finish. I would not want to start. I would not even want to try. And it was because of all the failures that I have incurred. And so instead of just like the approach I take nowadays, where it's just like, I'm just going to do it. Who cares what happens? And then I'm going to do it again. Then I'm going to do it again. I lived the majority of my young adult life fearful and doubtful, and I would give up all the time. I would never see things through because it would either get too scary or uh, maybe I would have to expose more of myself in order to grow in that area, if you know what I mean. So, that was my biggest thing, and I think that's what's kind of translated into a lot of like self medication and everything that I did throughout those years is just just a don't ever give up, and b just embrace who you are, be who you are, and if people don't like it, then they're not meant to be in your circle, and that's just the way it is.
That's it.
Yeah, so like I said, a few things, but I've thought about that too because I know I was like, one of these days someone's gonna flip this on me, so I better be ready. You know what I mean?
You put that on it.
But yeah, no,
That's a beautiful question.
it is too because I think like I said, from the get go, we're hard on ourselves. We really are, and I think it starts at a young age. We might not see it till we get older, but it does. It starts at a very young age, and that's how all that self-doubt and all those things start to happen. So anyways, yeah, thank you so much for being on, man. I appreciate you. It's been a blast, and I know what you do, but I want everyone to know what you do because what you're doing right now is just it's special, and you can tell, you can see, you can feel how passionate you are behind it. So that to me is just worth it all right there. Obviously, this is your career, so we want it to be successful, but I know you're passionate about it, and I know that makes you happy. So kudos to you, my friend. Thank you so much for being on the show. And please, can you give us some social media handles, some websites? How can we find Micopeia products?
Sure. First off, to you, thank you very much for having me. It's been a great honor. I was also telling my friend this, and I want to say it so it's on the record here too. You know, watching this journey go from ideation to now where we're at to crossing 100 subscribers
Yeah,
on
thank you.
YouTube. I literally, and this is like a hallmark of my life. I love Hallmark. I do. The channel every lifetime. What is it with me?
Right.
Wow. But literally, there's nothing that fills me with more joy than watching things continue to grow, watching people continue to
Yeah.
grow. So, I live when we add another zero and it's 1,000. I live for 10,000. I live for 100,000
Yes, sir.
subscribers. So this is going to be really amazing. I look forward to our catch up. When that happens down the
Oh,
line.
yeah. Oh, you'll be
It's just
back.
oh, for sure,
Yeah, you'll
for
be
sure.
back.
This is iconic. I mean, where we're at right now in our lives and what we are allowing ourselves to do, especially with how God led us. I
Hmm.
mean, we both were led here.
Yeah.
We didn't ask for this.
Yeah. 100%.
But
Yes.
seriously, we didn't. You know what I mean? But the choices that we made.
Hmm.
So I look forward to catching up and seeing, you know what I mean, seeing where we're at. Stay in touch with me. You can go to mycopeia.com. That's Micopeia. Mycopeia.com. That's my website. I have a wonderful greeting video there that will tell you how to navigate the website, how you can stay in touch through the newsletter. You can also find me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Mycopia. Again, that's going to be that at symbol. We already know how this goes.
Yeah.
Micopeia. And you can follow me there. If you ever have any wellness related questions, maybe a question, maybe where to start, or maybe you're dealing with something a little bit more advanced.
Hmm.
This is going out for our brothers and sisters living with some more heavier diseases, right? They're not diseases, they're diseases and other states of illness. So, if you're further along in that journey with something else and maybe you want a one on one, hit me up. I do have a text messaging service that's free as soon as you go to the website. So you can literally just text message me and that goes
Very
right to my
cool.
phone. You know what I mean? And I'll see that.
Nice.
I've got a chat service on the website. You just type it in there, ask a question right there, and it's gonna come right to me. You can send an email, however you will, whatever's comfortable for you. I'm here to support you
Excellent.
on this journey. And then coming up here, I'm going to be releasing a couple more books over the coming months. So, that'll be really exciting to release those. And I'm going to put it out into the universe right here. I'm looking forward to more speaking engagements. I'm looking forward to reaching millions of people. I'm looking forward to inspiring millions of people. And I'm looking forward to actually owning land and fostering a space where then all those folks can come. We can fellowship over tea.
I love it. And I know it's going to happen too. So, without a
Hey,
doubt. Real quick though, what's the Facebook, the Mycopia think tank, right? Are you still doing that?
yeah, but that's not for everybody.
Okay.
Literally,
Okay.
the think tank is only for customers.
Okay. Okay. I
Only for
got you.
customers.
Okay.
That's 100% only
So
for
go
customers.
buy something and then you can join
Yeah,
the think
and then you
tank.
get it. Yeah, and then there's like a password,
I love it.
or you can sign up for the newsletter. So make sure you sign up for the Mycopia newsletter right on the website, and then in the newsletter, the password is revealed too. But it's only for folks, just to allow for that next level of
Yeah.
engagement. You know what I mean? For those folks that are, I'm not just interested in liking something. I'm really looking to meet other people along their journey. I do like live courses and things like that, workshop my online courses at the website and things like that. So it's just a space, just another tucked away space.
No, and I like that. And what I love most about Mycopia is it's not just a product that you're buying. It's like a full one-stop shop.
Yeah,
It's basically a lifestyle that you're selling. And
100%.
and then you're there to coach and guide along the way. It's awesome. So,
Thank you.
yes,
Thank you.
please support Rashon. Please support Mycopia. Go like, follow, subscribe, purchase, do it all, please. And once again, if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel or my podcasts on Spotify or Apple, please do so now. You can also follow me on social media at process_34 on Instagram and process34 on Facebook. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, I'm also on
As
the YouTube as well.
Oh, there
The
you go.
YouTube.
I didn't know
I am.
that.
Yeah, I have a YouTube
Nice.
channel.
Under
I forgot
Mycopia?
about that.
Is it under Mycopia?
Yep,
Okay.
Mycopia.
Nice. We'll
Look
go
for
do
that.
that too. This guy's everywhere, and you're just gonna blow up. I know it. So hopefully you'll bring me along the journey,
We are in it to win it, baby.
my
I'm looking
man.
forward to our joint TED talk, man.
Right?
It's gonna be awesome.
I love it.
It's awesome, bro.
I love it. Well,
Come
thank
on,
you
man.
so much, Rashon. Thank you to all of the listeners and viewers. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and we'll see you again. Have a good one.